Man, oh man, I have gotten myself into quite a pickle here, haven't I? No one ever expects to be knocked off a giant tower by a horrifying monster, but hey, that's life sometimes, right? Still, this is kind of a weird situation, even for me, and at this moment, I'll admit I find myself wondering the same thing you're probably asking. How did I get here? To sufficiently answer this question, we need to go back to the beginning. Okay, wait, that's too far. Okay, you know what? Just roll the opening credits. Our story begins in a grassy plain, where I woke up all alone with no possessions in a very blocky world. My number one priority at this point was to survive, and luckily I spotted a village just a stone's throw away. Hoping these were friendly folk, I sprinted over to say hello, and did what any rational person would do when they're visiting a new town for the first time: steal everything I could get my hands on, and harvest their crops. Now, before you start feeling bad for these kind villagers I robbed, you should know that I helped the town fix its problems with water leakage only out of the goodness of my heart and a desire to do my part. Oh hey, that rhymed.
I'm a poet and didn't even know I was rhyming those words.
After a long, hard day of farming, robbing the locals, selling them stolen property, and destroying the surrounding forestry to make myself some weapons and tools, I was exhausted. So I repeatedly kicked one of the locals out of his own bed so I could sleep in it. And as I lay there, serenaded by the sounds of an indignant villager, I drifted off to sleep, eventually landing in dreams of tall mountains, sweeping landscapes, deep oceans, and other stuff. And suddenly, in my dreams, an idea began to form. Just like that, I had a purpose beyond simply surviving. I was going to conquer this land. But there was one major obstacle: the Ender Dragon. The Ender Dragon is the ruler of the void and a symbol of fear, but not a cool symbol of fear like Batman. And because he was the dominant force standing in the way of my own bid to power, and decidedly not as cool as Batman, the dragon had to die. But to accomplish my goal of murdering a dragon I had never met or spoken to, I needed a plan. So after taking a break from stealing the villagers' own food and trading it back to them, I came up with a set of milestones I needed to clear before I could tumble into the end and keep that dragon from killing me. My first major goal was to find diamonds as fast as possible so I could make some diamond tools. I needed those tools to mine obsidian. I needed obsidian to build a portal to the Nether, the underworld of Minecraft, home to endless lakes of lava, terrifying monsters, and, unfortunately, some materials that were essential to my mission. After that, I needed to murder a bunch of Endermen and use their eyeballs to help me track down a stronghold. I know, that sounds weird, but we'll get to it later. Once I located a stronghold, I would comb the place over for an end portal, which would take me to the abyss known as the End. In the end, I would be able to face the Ender Dragon. To further increase my chances of survival, I also wanted to collect some totems of undying, extra ender pearls, and ancient debris throughout my journey. But again, we'll get to that later. As you can see, I had a lot of work ahead of me. Fortunately, step 1 was pretty simple. Survive the first night, and I had successfully accomplished that goal. Before I could do anything else, however, I needed to complete the pre-goal to goal number 1 of getting diamonds, and that was to set up my infrastructure. Seeking more supplies to set up said infrastructure, I made my way over to the village on the other side of the mountain, only stopping to mine up my first pieces of coal along the way. I had just arrived and introduced myself to village number 2, and was in the middle of picking up some food the villagers had left lying around, when I spotted a desert temple nearby. So after doing some more tidying up, I carefully stepped inside. Desert temples can have a lot of dark corners, perfect for spawning bad guys, so I made sure to light up every inch of the place. I didn't want any creepers sneaking up on me. And then I tunneled my way down to the loot. Before cracking open those chests, I made sure I broke the pressure plate in the middle of the floor, which is essential when raiding a desert temple. If I had accidentally stepped on that pressure plate, 9 TNT blocks would have ended this playthrough after just a day and a half. Coming into this desert temple was a fantastic idea. I got some iron, gold, emeralds, a couple of enchanted books, and, most importantly, the TNT. Not too bad for day 2. Thanks to the fact that I'm smarter than the beings who built this temple, I made it back to the surface alive and with the right materials to make myself a shield. I feel so safe. As night fell on my second day in this strange land, I committed a little more petty theft and once again kicked a villager out of his own bed so I could sleep in it. Basking in my triumph over that desert temple, I slept pretty well. The next morning, while searching for more valuables in the village, I found some bookshelves. I hadn't seen any villagers reading, so I didn't feel bad about taking them. After a thorough inspection of the village, I determined there was nothing valuable left for me to steal, so I decided to check out a house I'd spotted earlier, perched atop the hillside. Even though my legs were burning from all the hopping I had to do to climb this hill, I was excited about who might be living at the top of the mountain. But when I got there, it was empty. Weird. Maybe they were running errands or something. While I was up there, though, I took the chance to survey the surrounding landscape, and I'm really glad I did. It's a heck of a view from up here. Not satisfied with the amount of crime I had committed through 3 days, I went back down to the original village to knock over a few more houses. And after a little bit more stealing and buying some iron pants from the local blacksmith, I was all tuckered out. At this point, my inventory was getting very full, and while I was having fun kicking villagers out of their beds each night, I decided it was time to build my own home, forge my own path. So, I stole some more food the next morning, made a little more money from the villagers, said my goodbyes, struck out for adventure, and decided to set up shop at the top of the mountain next to the village. I know, it's not exactly adventurous, but this hill has such a pretty view, and I just couldn't leave the villagers. They were my best friends. By setting down a chest, I claimed this spot as my own. Sorry, I don't make the rules. And then I got to work on some landscaping. And yes, I know what you're thinking. The only thing that makes landscaping more exciting is to show it in a montage set to disproportionately epic music. After enough hard labor to fill a montage, I slept under the stars in my own bed, thanks to some sheep who graciously volunteered to donate some wool. With the foundation of my house laid down, I started playing with some flooring options. Remember kids, people care about what your house looks like, and your floor says everything. I settled on the stripped oak log because I've never used stripped wood in any of my builds, and I like the way it looks. But I almost immediately regretted my decision when I realized you can't turn 3 stripped logs into 6 slabs. Oh boy, this could take a while. However, determined to impress people I don't know, I pressed on. I wasn't going to let a little inefficiency stop me from making the fanciest floors you've ever seen. There was still a ton to do, so I got to work clearing grass, which, if you haven't done before, I highly recommend. It's very satisfying. When you're trying to stay alive with only the bottom half of your body armored up, you have to take time to enjoy the little things in life. And finally, with my land mostly cleared and enough lumber to serve as a starting point, I began building the frame of my house. I liked the combination of acacia logs with oak planks more than I thought I would, and with the addition of some very fancy looking dark oak doors, I had a place to call my own. After 5.5 days of building, clearing dirt, raiding ancient temples, and perpetrating minor misdemeanors, I was in a good place. And while there was still a long way to go at this point, I was well on my way to taking down the Ender Dragon.